Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is BGG bringing you this Sunday afternoon Dinar Call with live Q&A for August 16th, Sunday, August 16th. Before we get going, I want to make sure that I take the time to thank all of our researchers, our great news researchers, our moderators, our personalities that stop by, regular to the chat room, Poppy, Caperoni, T-Man 23, Million Day, Rudy, Robin Redhead, Mr. White, Mr. Ref, Holly 1, Romello. The list is just, it's a whole bunch of people that make DinarUpdates.com what it is. We also want to thank Dinar Recaps and IQD Calls, Dinar Detectives for advertising our calls for us and posting them for us. Appreciate that so much. You can and should follow us on Twitter at Dinar Updates. Send out a lot of tweets every day with the latest breaking news, and I got a bunch more news to tweet about after this call. I want to tell you all about live. You can get on the Deuce list in our Updates Currency Exchange list, which is looking more and more like we're going to be able to use that fairly soon. And if you have trouble with a membership to the forum, DinarUpdates.com, and you'd like one, you're welcome to email DUresponse@comcast.net. We'll get a manual profile made for you. To kick what's going on today's call, it's literally a huge news day. There was conversation, is Maliki gone? Is he not gone? Is he out of the country? He's probably out of the country. Is he gone as far as the Iraq political structure? More than likely, highly likely. And I said in a proverbial sense a few days ago that he's gone. He's gone, not coming back. And I'm sticking with that. I think he's so toxic. He's out of office. They've got everything they want. They're going to deal with him. And there was one article in the Iraq news thread that very long commentary that says, will Maliki be tried on charges over international crimes and genocide? I'm going to quick hop over and just point out a couple of things. Not a very long article, seems to be a legit article, and they are still looking at that those Iranian members of the PMOI and the Camp Ashraf and Camp Liberty. They have not forgotten about that stuff. Maliki was in on that. He had a hand in it. They apparently have evidence. So that, Halabja, the fall of Mosul, walking away from all those people intentionally, Maliki's got some real deep trouble. I suspect legally he's in a world of hurt. We're going to talk a lot about. And by the way, let me just cut to the quick. Okay, Maliki, I personally believe, for those that say that Maliki doesn't have anything to do with this, his influence has a lot to do with this. I respectfully disagree. He has been the stabilizing factor behind Ali al-Awlaq, and probably I've contended all along those two have been, it seems evident that those two have been the ones that are kind of holding things up. Now that they're in deep trouble and probably gone fairly soon, it opens the door wide to economic reform, along with all the other reforms that Abadi seems to be moving ahead with very, very quickly. Alaq, by the way, there was an article out. Doggone it, let me see if here we go. I copied this. And by the way, this may well be a translational issue. I don't think so, and I'll refer back. Some person on the internet that swears up and down they're an fluent Arabic speaker gave me some grief last week for saying something like, for some of my comments about that article about Shabibi potentially undergo some kind of a probe. He will undergo some kind of a probe, but if anybody remembers what my comments were in context, I was the first one out of the box that said that didn't sound right to me. More than likely that's a translational issue. Almost everybody carried my comments afterwards, except for this person who swears up and down they speak Arabic, except for they can't bother to read everything that was said in context. So I'm happy for you. I'm glad that you can speak and read Arabic. Good for you. But we speak English, and you should have listened to everything I said in English. And then you know exactly what the context of my opinion was. This one in particular talks about some wasteful spending on the part of Ali al-Awlaq and it refers to him in the article. And doggone it, I didn't see this one posted in our news forum, but I'll make sure it gets posted in there before the end of or right after the call. But it talks about some conference that he was sponsoring, spent a lot of dinar, and it refers to him in the article as the former central bank governor Ali Al-Awlaq. And in multiple translations, if you look at it, it refers to him as the former. It does not refer to him as the current. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And that was out just today. In fact, that was out at 2 o'clock today. So 2 o'clock our time was when that article came out. It's only a little over 3 hours ago. Very interesting to me. This article that talked about, it was from an economist. It was an op-ed piece and talked about the deletion of the zeros from the currency will reduce the dollar traded in the local market. In that article, it referred to there was a piece of that article, and I'm going to actually read it to you because if I say it, people will just swear up and down I said it. I'm referring to what this author has to say, and I want to read it to you exactly. It does look like they may postpone the customs and duties. Not a big deal. I've said all along they're going to postpone that until they have value to the currency. I'm looking for this article about the deletion of the 3 zeros. Oh, here we go. And it was posted this morning by Doodlebrain in the forum. Appreciate you, Doodlebrain, being such an incredible news researcher and all the other people that are. It says, he explained that the largest category of cash is 25,000 dinars, which is equal to $22. In the case of deletion of the zeros and converted to $25, and there's a mistranslated word there, but it talks about $75. The process will give the larger side of the currency value. Essentially, he's talking about after the process of deletion of the 3 zeros, essentially that value goes up to $75, which in some version I could see him trying to convey that it's a 3-to-1, $3 to 1 Iraqi dinar, and it seems to be the context that he's talking about. Having said all that, I think I'll just leave it there for now. I can't hardly see that value that high, but that's what it says. And you're welcome to go look at that it's on page 2 of the Iraq News thread. You can look it up for yourself. Okay, back to huge news today. Iraq on Yahoo.com. By the way, the news was an Iraq probe finds Maliki and others responsible for the Mosul fall. That's huge. Maliki is he may have some support in Iran right now. Don't know that he's even back to Iraq yet. But I kind of doubt he comes back to Iraq right this second because until he gets some kind of immunity, because he doesn't have any immunity. I think he's probably going to stay there and just hide out for a while. There's an article that just came out a little bit ago. Says the title was "Urgent Shahristani Bloc says that as Maliki is the head of the National Alliance, he should have a seat in Parliament." Essentially, is what that article is saying. Except for Maliki is not the head of the National Alliance. He's not even close to the head of the National Alliance. That's Ali Al-Adib is the head of the National Alliance. And this is what I was talking about. Maliki would get internally ousted. He would have no seat internally. Then they deal with him politically. Then they deal with him criminally afterwards. There are those forces that are loyal to Maliki trying to give him a seat in Parliament so he has some immunity. But even Maliki tested that theory when he arrested numerous members of Parliament, al-Asawi several years ago being one of them. So he's dreaming about what this is going to do for him. And he's not. I don't want to predict whether they'll actually make him the leader of the National Alliance. I don't see that, but that is some conversation that there are some who are having right now. So let me look real quick. The big news is that they came out with a report. Maliki's name was on the report. There was a sharp disturbance over that report, but they obviously a body side, and I've said this all along, the good side's going to win this argument. I've said over and over and over the last 3 months that this is it's a struggle for the soul of Iraq, and that's exactly what's going on. And it appears that they are going to be the good side of the argument is going to win out. So, and they need to. I mean, the World Bank didn't give them much choice. There is, and in fact, there's another article which is kind of interesting. Apparently, it talks about the Iraqi central bank is not doing business with any Iranian banks. I'm not sure that that's not the money laundering and currency manipulation scheme that Alaq is going after, having something to do with Iran and Maliki and al-Alaq being at the very center of that scheme. So we may well find out here fairly soon that had something to do with Iran. And it said, and obviously there were numerous bribes going around to higher up Iraq officials. Been going on for a long time. Everybody's known it. We've talked about it. But I wonder if that isn't where this Iranian support comes from. The title of the article is "The Central Bank Stopped Dealing with Iranian." The central bank stopped dealing with Iranian banks, and that would be the CBI not dealing with Iranian banks anymore. If that's happening, I'm just curious if that former title to Alaq is real. I think what I'm going to do, other than that, folks, the main thing that I'll tell you is, there's an article that says Maliki demands a seat in Parliament. He's all wet. He's crazy. Other than that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this thing over to live Q&A here pretty quick. But I'll tell you, the news is just breathtaking. It's almost impossible to keep up with. It's moving so fast, and things are just they're moving the right direction. I mean, here's the thing: they're moving in the right direction, in the direction we need them, and they're moving very, very quickly. So, if Alaq is officially removed sometime here in the next few days, and I'm not necessarily predicting yay or nay at this point, I'm just kind of spectating and pointing out that these are things that we have needed and wanted to see all along. I don't see, there's those people that talk about, all this unrest, political unrest, meaning that they need to that'll put off the RV for a year or two while it's at that. I think there's no way that's. I just don't agree with that. I mean, I think they may put the right people in and give a little time under their belts, but I don't think it'll be very long because they simply just don't have that kind of time. I mean, the World Bank and IMF has very plainly given them an ultimatum that they've responded to. It appears, and they're moving right forward with what it would take to answer those very serious requirements. So, having said that, and that's the kink in that logic. I can see where one would say changing a central bank governor might put this thing on hold for a while, except for the fact that they don't have a while to be put on hold. So that is. Those are my comments on that, and that's simply my opinion. And again, I'm just just giving you my opinion and some speculation, and just kind of observing the news and giving you an idea where I think we're at. We're at a fantastic. And by the way, that's not an over. That is far and away not an over exaggeration of the situation. This is exactly where we want to be. So, having said that, I'll turn this over to live Q&A now, and let some people have some conversation, and we'll talk this thing over. And whatever you like, just make sure you're respectful, and we'll get right through this. First caller is from the 972 area code. 972 area code. Thanks for calling, and you're live.
Yeah, BGG, you may have just answered my question. I'm just trying to figure out what needs to be done for the Iraqi dinar to RV. You may have just answered.
I think your two big antagonizers, Maliki and Alak, are seriously on the ropes, and if they're not, well, I think they're seriously on the ropes. And those are your two big, they're the two big obstructionists, is what I'll say. They've been at the center of the holdup. I've said that all along. I've made no bones about it. And now that they're on their way, I think it opens up the door for all kinds of reforms, which it appears that they are going to go ahead and execute shortly.
And do you think Shabibi's coming back in?
Kind of doubt it. By the way, that one, speaking of Shabibi, that one article I pointed out was more than likely early on. I said this is probably a translation issue. Let's let this play out before we get too excited about them. It sounds like at this point they were talking about looking into the original arrest warrant for Shabibi. Does not sound like, and listen, everybody's going to undergo some scrutiny. I'm sure Shabibi's dealings will be part of this probe, but they'll more than likely find that he had no wrongdoing whatsoever. But I still, with all the upheaval that's going on there, I just don't hardly see. I just don't see Shabibi coming back. I just don't. He's even older than he was when he left, and Maliki has some very, very powerful allies. I just don't. In my opinion, if you're asking my opinion, I don't see that. There are several other characters that could do that job and probably would be willing to.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Next caller is from the 863 area code. Thanks for calling in. You're live.
BGG, I just wanted to find out, a friend of mine asked me about the dinar the other day, kind of jokingly, and after I explained how long I've been waiting on this and what I've been through, he asked the question, where can I get some dinar? I don't know. Can you tell me?
I'm very leery about even commenting on this. There are places that you can buy it cash outright, and that would be the only. It's obviously a very difficult situation. The market's in a lot of upheaval right now, as you can imagine.
Correct.
You can buy it on eBay, and there are a lot of protections there.
Okay, that sounds like an option.
Well, I mean, there are protections. There are several layers of protections there.
Right.
And I will say this: any dealer who's been participating in any way, shape, or form, based on the current things that we've seen out of the government, and I'm saying, had anybody had any imagination that CFTC would interpret things the way they did, obviously we would have had a much different outlook previously. But any dealer that has had, and I would be skeptical about sending money in the mail to any dealer for any reason who has participated in any pre-payment program of any kind, because the hammer is going to drop on everybody sooner or later. It's just a matter of time. And if you're sending money in the mail to any of these dealers, there's a distinct possibility that you'll be caught in the middle of another one of those deals.
Do you think that they may close down places like eBay also for selling that?
I don't know why. I mean, they're just here's the issue. Any of the dealers that have participated in any way in layaway or reserve or any contract of any kind, they've got licensing issues that are not going away. They can, those dealers can convince themselves all day long that it's or anybody who has participated in any kind of layaway of any kind, they can say, oh, we're doing it right because of this, or we're doing it right because of that. There's no way. There's just no way. And to send any money to a dealer that has been involved at this point, in retrospect, looking back, to send any money to anybody who's been involved in anything like that, you're just tempting fate. Is the problem.
Thanks, BGG. I appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. Next caller, 775 area code. Thanks for calling and you're live. And by the way, anybody that wants to ask a question, make a comment, have something to say, want to talk about the news, hit *6 on your keypad, and we will get you worked in here. So 775 area code. Thanks for calling and you're live.
Yeah, BGG, just a quick question. I read an article this morning. Body's office came out with a statement. The second batch of monetary reforms to come out Tuesday or be activated Tuesday. Is there any reality to that?
Yeah, I've read numerous articles that there's another batch of reforms coming. I don't know what those reforms are, but I'm as excited or interested as anybody else is.
That's not anything. It didn't say anything special either. That what it is specifically, but wasn't there with the body when he did the first activation of the first bunch of reforms that there was a second one coming, which obviously is this, but there was no mention of a third. You think this may be what they need to get through to do their RV?
Don't have any idea, and I'm not even gonna imagine guess that's what that's going to be. But I'll say when it's fully official that Alak and Maliki are hammered, I think then the door is wide open for almost anything to happen. So
it was a while back you had said that there was three major things: Maliki, Mahmoud, and Alak that needed to go for things to kind of move forward. So evidently your thoughts are obviously down the line of what's happening now with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I've never believed that it couldn't happen back then. I believe that anything could have happened because any one of those three characters could have decided they were on board, would go a different direction, and they'd have been fine. But at this point, in where we're at right now, they I think that they need to go for true monetary reform and economic reform to take hold or be allowed. And then I would say that's probably why there's even conversation about Maliki having any support from Iran behind the scenes. That's it. That's the real issue right there. So
it does seem like he's trying to squeeze out of things and make some moves elsewhere to either get himself in some safe haven or trying to get back in, which obviously I believe that would be an impossibility with the situation the way it has gotten this far.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that's. I think you're exactly right. He's in a desperate way. He's trying everything. He went to Iran. He wants a seat in Parliament. He wants to be awarded the leadership of the National Alliance. Bad news. I don't think it's going to happen.
I think his son ended up in Finland?
Supposedly. Now, I don't. There was an article that I got to spend a little time on that said he was arrested already.
Oh.
I haven't had a chance to read it through thoroughly, so I wouldn't. Other than I just saw the title, don't worry about that. But wouldn't shock me he'd do something stupid like leave Finland.
The last comment is it's been amazing watching this. I've had mine since 2004, and I haven't watched it for the first, say, 6-7 years, but say probably the last year and a half with my sister-in-law, that it's just amazing watching what's happening that since the body's got in and what that one man is trying to do for that country. And we think he should get the Nobel Peace Prize when this is all over, when it goes through.
Well, I think if he pulls through correctly, I think something serious ought to be. I don't know if Nobel Peace Prize is what it is, but if he let's see how these reforms, how he implements everything, and maybe I'll say this: if he gets this stuff, everything that even just the stuff that he's got on deck right now, if he gets this stuff pulled through, I think he's probably the most influential politician of the decade. You know, I mean, I don't know about Nobel Peace Prize, but I'm just saying he's pulled off an incredible feat. If he gets this stuff, if he gets Iraq saved from this mess, he's pulled off one incredible feat.
Yeah, considering where they came from out of the hole with 44 decades of
right.
dictators.
Yeah. Maliki and his thugs behind the scenes just stripping them, just gorging themselves on the oil money, and able to save everybody economically and and then the reforms, et cetera. I mean, it's amazing, just amazing. Last couple weeks has just been awesome.
Well, all I can say is it's been exciting watching it. It's getting more exciting now. But anyway, that's my question. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Very good. Thanks so much. Next caller is 410 area code 410. Thanks for calling, and you're live.
Hi, BGG. It's Earl again from Maryland.
How are you, Earl?
I'm great. And I hope you and your family is the same. Your dad's been in our prayers in Maryland, so hopefully that helped your dad out some.
It did.
Good. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm just going to get here real quickly so somebody else can get on. What happened to Dinar Detectives, their website? Do you know?
I thought it was. I think they were just changing the format of it.
It's been down a long time. Days now. I mean, now the IQ team, they're changing their format. They're having their issues too with their servers. But the Dinar Detectives, that was a good website. You know, it gave everybody some some room there to express their opinion. And but all of a sudden they disappeared.
I think they're just no, their forum's up right now.
It's up right now?
Yeah. Yeah, they just did some changes to the Dinar Detective, the front page, and that's it.
Oh, okay, because for a few days, I mean, it's been some time now that they was just down, and there was no notification or anything.
They were just doing some work on it, that's all.
Okay, well, I'm glad they're back up and running. You know, there was a nice source, and they always advertised you well, and that was a good thing too. So, I like to see the good sites stay put, and they seem to be a straightforward site to go to. So, okay, well, I won't waste any more time, and I hope some other callers will get in here and ask some good questions, and I'll be talking to you soon.
No problem. Thanks, Earl. Real quick, Earl got me thinking here. I went to look at our Twitter feed. There's a bunch of news. There's a bunch of blurbs on our Twitter feed that were interesting. Iraq PM okays court-martial for officers who fled Ramadi. So he's after everybody from Mosul and Ramadi. There was I put up that they were postponing the implementation of the customs and tariffs. Put up that piece that was on yahoo.com. Here was an interesting piece. Mahdi reveals the value of the waste of budgets of Iraq. And I said he's kidding himself with these numbers. You need to go read what numbers he's talking about. He was talking about $25 billion worth of waste from 2003 until now. He's so full of baloney. And I think that he's probably in some trouble too with just talking gibberish like that. It wasn't $25 billion in waste. It's probably more like I think some numbers I heard was as high as $600 or $700 billion. I mean, there's a lot of waste from 2003 until now. And in fact, I heard a number for Maliki's, just Maliki's 7 or 8 years that was just incredible. I couldn't hardly believe. So I don't know what Mahdi's talking about. $25 billion in waste from 2003 until now. It's just those are crazy numbers. Next caller, 540 area code. Thanks for calling, and you're live.
Hi, could you tell me, please, the 60 days that the World Bank gave to Iraq, when did that start? When does that end?
Maybe somebody on the chat room can help me. I thought that was October 1st. Can somebody help me with that? Yes. Somebody, one of our researchers chimed in. Yes, that was October 1st.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep, no problem. Thanks so much. And that the main thing they asked for was their AML procedures, anti-money laundering. They wanted that in place by October 1st. Looks like without Maliki and Alak in the way, they're going to get their wish. Next caller, 702 area code. 702, thanks for calling, and you're live.
Hey, BGG, it's Doodle Brain. How are you?
Good. How are you, Doodle?
I am fabulous. So I am just a little bit, maybe not so much concerned, but here's my thought process on this arrest warrant. We're following through with this request from a body on Shabibi. We know it's an old warrant from Maliki, right?
Well, now this is the developing story here, and this is I'm sure is accurate. Is there was a reference to that arrest warrant at the end of that article, but I'm sure it was. Again, I said early on, I believed it to be more than likely a translation issue, and that's what it was. That article is pointing out that they're looking into that arrest warrant post, along with all this other stuff that goes along with Maliki. That's all that is.
Okay, so
because he was already, by the way, they issued an arrest warrant. They got a conviction in absentia, and then they turned around and vacated that conviction already. All that's done and over with. They're just going to go back and review that again.
Okay, so here's where my head is right now. So we know that a body is probably respecting and appreciating what Shabibi's vision was for this reevaluation, or bringing Iraq back to where it needs to be respected as far as its assets in the world, and the vision of the world. Why would he want to go out and arrest him knowing? So would this be more of a, I want to protect Shabibi, let's put this out so that the courts can then get the records that he has on Maliki, so it's not Shabibi presenting him, it's not a body presenting him, it's the courts demanding all those files that he has on Maliki, so therefore Shabibi's off the hook in bringing.
Well, I think they're going to look into this they're going to look into it, number one, with a very even hand. But again, and this isn't even my main point. Everybody keeps talking about Shabibi as though he's going to sweep in there and do immediate changes. I would be very careful about what you ask for, because if Shabibi, there is no guarantee. My personal take on Shabibi is he's a well thought out, well planned out, great financial mind, and I'm not convinced that if he did come back, would he immediately. I think there are other characters who would be more prone to do what a body wants them to do, that would probably be very. That would be more beneficial to your investment side of things. There's no guarantee that if Shabibi came back that he would be the answer that everybody's asking. He would be the best answer for Iraq, and that may not be. I think that other choices for a body as the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq probably will be a better short-term answer for Iraq. But I think for people to think in their minds that Shabibi would be the guy to come back and do that, you better be careful about that thought process, because, first of all, I don't think that's going to happen. But secondly, if it did happen, I'm really here's a guy who stood firm in the face of Maliki and tyranny for, 4 years?
Yeah.
So do you think? I mean, I would be very careful about wanting him to be the guy, is my comment, because he would do what's right for monetary policy in the long term more than he would, I think, generally more than the short term. He would look for other alternatives other than potentially a currency shift to bridge their short-term budget deficit. And that's exactly the best hope that we have right now, is that somebody gets in there with a little more short-term vision that helps a body bridge their short-term budget deficit with some kind of currency reform immediately. And that's the very best. That's the best case scenario.
I totally respect where you're coming from, and I agree with you. But I guess I have a allegiance just because he's just been such the cheerleader for where this country needs to go with bringing them back onto the world stage.
Yes. So I agree with that. Sure.
That being said, so let's go, if you don't mind, if I could have one more question. I think it was Thursday or Friday. You came out and you talked about these reforms and in Parliament, all these big laws that were being voted through or read through, reconciliation laws and things of that nature. Do we know where we stand?
Yeah, I would characterize that as just a broad-based verbal support for those, not necessarily anything technical. But Parliament was coming out and saying, we support Abadi's initial short-term reforms and all this other stuff also.
Okay, so skids are greased. They're going to do what they can to support them on a national scale. Okay.
Right. And that's all that was. It was just a voice of just a show of support and just saying, hey, we want to make sure that we're here and that we support him during all these reforms. And these are, it's just kind of a verbal, we're going to do this no matter what.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thanks so much. Okay, next caller, 303 area code. Thanks for calling and you're live.
Hey, BGG. I'm calling from near Denver, long-time listener, first-time caller. And I just want to say, thank you so much for what you do, because I try and get in every one of these. And, thank you and your team for all the faithful research, and, God keep blessing what you're doing. I got caught up, and I don't know if you're at liberty to say anything, so I want to be careful with this. But when the hammer came down on Dinar Call a couple of weeks ago, I had a couple of outstanding orders. They were not part of the reserve program. They were money orders that I had sent in, and that got all caught up in this and that and the other thing. And I'm wondering if you have heard how they are going with that. I see an article here from an Atlanta paper, this is from 10 days ago, that there are some frozen assets that FBI has reached agreement with investigators for about a little over $500,000. I'm not quite sure what that means. I don't know. Have you heard anything on that lately?
And you're saying an article from 10 days ago that they've reached an agreement?
This is from DothamEagle.com, which I think was the town that they were in. It says, agreement reached in case related to FBI search in Dotham. This is posted Thursday, August 6th. And I'll just read the first couple paragraphs quick. The man whose home was searched last week by the FBI has reached an agreement with investigators to have assets frozen that authorities believe are tied to a company charged with illegal foreign currency exchange transactions. According to documents filed in the U.S. District Court in the Middle District of Alabama, blah, 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 listed as principal of My Money Incorporated, has agreed to have approximately $555,000 in assets frozen pending the outcome of a case against a Nevada business charged with violations of Commodity Futures Trading Act. The order means the assets cannot be touched without court permission. So I don't know if you've heard about that, or if you know of anything about that, or if there's been any.
Well, that just has to do with the My Monix Alabama portion of it, and just the processor portion of it, which means he's apparently reached some kind of a deal with them that says they're going to tie up that $550,000 until they figure out the broader scope of the program. Is all.
Okay.
So it doesn't. I mean, that just means the guy in Alabama's out of it for now.
Oh boy! Any hope that might be taken care of, or do you think that's going to be a long-term thing like the Sterling thing?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I would hope that it's not. I know that there's some plan in place to remunerate those who are experiencing a loss, just like you are. They've what exactly or how they're going to approach that, I don't know. And that's exactly why I gave the advice earlier on the call that I did, is that, in retrospect, had anyone had any idea that the CFTC would view this the way that they have, then they're just the whole program should have been stayed away from like that.
Yeah. Okay. Hey.
In any way, in any shape, form, or fashion, that should have been the case.
Okay.
So,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
God's got a plan.
Well, I do know. I can tell you, rumor-wise, I've heard from a couple of very direct sources that there is a plan in place to make sure people are made whole. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to be soon enough to do you any good.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. And we'll just take it one day at a time.
Exactly. Very good.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the call, and
keep up
thanks
the great
for the
work.
information. But I'm glad people. I'm sure people will appreciate it. Next caller, 218 area code. Thanks for calling. You're live.
Yes, I have two questions, and the second one depends on your answer to the first. My understanding is there's more than one country's currency involved, but that the Iraqi dinar is the key to it all. Is that correct?
No, I don't believe so. I think that's that's internet hype and probably not accurate.
So you're thinking that the IMF and all these others are only dealing with the Iraqi dinar right now, and that's it?
Well, I say yes and no. They will. There was Christine Lagarde used a term that was somewhat similar to global currency reset some time ago, but it had nothing to do with the kind of way that term is slung around the internet. What they were talking about was some kind of a global currency alignment where some of these developing countries had more of a say in world economic affairs. And first of all, there's no way that should even happen. And secondly, it's not in the same way and context that you're referring to or that has been referred to, that you're talking about. It's just not the same terminology. So from that perspective, I want to make sure that I answer it accurately, that the term has been used, but not like that. These internet hacks talk about global currency reset, and they talk about a very broad, very aggressive strategy, and that's just not what's going to happen. Iraq's going to be dealt with on Iraq's merits. Iraq is all about Iraq. The dinar is all about the dinar. It's all about the conditions in the country. There's not some global conspiracy going on. That's about as simple as I can make it.
Yeah, because I was thinking that, my next question was going to be if there is more than one, why haven't we heard news about the prime ministers of some other country being involved with the meetings between Obama and Jack Lew and the different higher powers that be? And it seems like we just haven't heard of any.
The answer is very simple, because there isn't. Because there is no collusion.
Okay.
You answered your own question. Yeah, the answer is obvious. How come we haven't heard of all these meetings? Because they didn't exist. Because they don't happen. Because it doesn't. It isn't. That is not the character of the conversation. So Iraq is. We like what's going on in Iraq, and that's our focus for now.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Great call. Appreciate the questions. Next caller, 417 area code. Thanks for calling. You're live.
Hi. Good afternoon to you.
How are you?
I'm good. This is Miss Day from Missouri. Is it correct that the people have not been paid, and also how are they reacting, and what do you feel is the percentage of the people in the country that are really affected, as in the poverty level, because we do see so much modern structure in cities around Baghdad when we look at things?
A lot of turmoil. There's an extraordinary low poverty level is extraordinary, but who the people haven't been paid? Which people? Who are we talking about?
the people of Iraq, the citizens that are waiting to use their cards, is it true that they have not been paid yet?
Highly unlikely. I would say it's highly unlikely that the cards or anything else has been funded. They just don't have that kind of money. I mean, the money that they need is going to come from a budget, some bridging of the budget deficit, because they're in deep financial trouble and they got to come up with some solutions.
Right, and I just read articles about, that they haven't been paid this month or this and that, and I was just trying to get a handle on how long they could possibly push these people or push it on through the month.
They can't go going back to my comments about the IMF and the World Bank, they really need to address the issues, but they just don't. They don't have that kind of time to burn. I mean, it's very, their window is narrow.
Okay. Well, thank you, and have a good evening, sir. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much. Next caller and last caller. This is it. 765 area code. Thanks for calling, and let's make it a good one.
Well, I'll do my best. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
I am just got off working on the truck, but anyway, BGG, what I want to know is Iraq has these deadlines, and they keep, so to speak, kick the can down the street, and it always gets postponed or the extension. What happens October 1st comes, and they don't have this?
I'll say this. I think that Abadi bought himself a little bit of grace with the IMF and the World Bank. I mean, he's made some serious moves right now. That'll buy him some time for sure. But I think there's no doubt that he's got to get moving forward very quickly on some things. And this whole reform process, he's responding to their threats, no question. I mean, it boils down to the fact that they're a huge piece of the world economic picture. I mean, oil, money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The World Bank and the IMF just couldn't let them couldn't let those bad actors keep doing what they're doing. I mean, just puts too much pressure on the world economy.
Well, I understand that, and I look at the other countries that excuse their debt when the United States comes over there. I mean, they got to be going crazy, not being paid yet when they thought that it should have been over. And
over a long time ago, exactly.
But I mean, when do they finally get together and say that's it? I mean, we got to do something. I mean, it seems like if October 1st doesn't happen, we go back to square one again. For dinarians,
I don't think so, and I think Abadi has responded. He's heard the bell. He's moved, and I think the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be very excited to see what they get done. So I don't think the overarching thing commentary here is that the world, Iran could be behind Maliki and supporting him all they want, but ultimately the World Bank and the IMF has dropped the hammer on this thing. And so they can support Maliki all they want, but Maliki is literally kidding himself if he thinks he's going to escape this. It's not going to happen.
Well,
there is no way that Abadi can afford to backtrack. You're exactly right about that. So
and that's what I'm getting at is, what happens. Let's say it doesn't happen, and the IMF says that's it, and these countries are demanding their money. I mean, what's the next step? I mean, what happens? Do they just go in and start taking oil from them, or I mean, what happens?
I don't think that. I don't even think we have to worry about it because he's already responded.
Okay.
He's already responded.
As a Dinarian, just not knowing everything that you do, it looks terrible. I mean, I know you're excited about it, but we're looking at it and how are they going to get all this straightened out before October 1st?
Well, there was an interesting article just out today that, in fact, I tweeted about it. Or, hang on, let me see where I've got this. This was the article. I tweeted about it maybe late last night. But Jabori said that they confirmed the Parliament is going to deal with the report of the fall of Mosul and those actors at their next public meeting. So they're going to deal with this thing at a Parliament level and then probably an international criminal level. So I don't think Maliki escapes. And then essentially all the bad actors who he was supporting from behind the scenes, they all lose their support and they're gone too. So, and as soon as that happens, I think your reform process moves forward very, very quickly. And I've said that all along. I mean, I've been saying that for 2 years.
Well, and I can see the IMF saying, "Man, we don't want to put all our eggs in a basket, but that not everybody's playing fair." I can understand that. I get where they want something taken care of. To me, it just seems like, man, this thing's going to go on forever. But I don't. They're against the wall. You're right.
I think he's already responded to the bill, and I think the next couple of weeks will be very, very exciting. I mean, particularly with which is the main argument that's really encompassing this whole thing or driving the whole thing, is the World Bank and the IMF. I mean, they essentially told them, you got to get your AML under control or we're going to bomb you back to the Stone Ages economically. They don't want that. They've been playing silly games up until now, but the gloves are off.
Yeah, I agree, and thank you for taking my call, and I hope your daddy's doing good, man.
He is. He just got home. He's doing very good. Appreciate all the prayers. Thank you for the conversation, the call, and the questions. And to everybody else who's tuned in here, we appreciate you folks so much. You're the reason we do this. Stay tuned to DinarUpdates.com for Dinar News, Dinar Info, and Dinar Commentary. We'll continue to bring it as we are able. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again real